So for our last Learn Together, I want to start by just letting you know that this is a little off our normal schedule because it's the last week of the semester and therefore of our class. And I'm recording it a week before it's due, just as I've been trying to do with all things possible. So for this Learn Together, it will, again, and you see a theme in some of my last Learn Togethers, help you work towards your Dev 1. So the sooner you get this done, the sooner you get this code up done, the more time you have to think and work on your Develop It 1. But I will record next after I finish this, hopefully sometime today, the last video or the video for the Develop It 1, because I did play with the requirements, flesh them out a little more today. But moving to here, what you need to do, and I've tried to give this what I felt like was simple, but I know because I did most of the work and I'll show you that. It did take a little bit, but it was actually just documenting what I'd already done. So what I want you to do is continue working on your Dev 1, okay? And again, this should be done in your private repo. I've been doing it in my public, so you all have a look at it. And then I want you to create a file, dev1_md for Markdown in your public repo. And I want you to include the following things, right? Get a description of your API, 1 paragraph's fine. The endpoints for your user and your app specific, your app content, and a short description of what the endpoint will handle. Okay, and then push your completed MD file and give us a link, and then write something about your progress here, or ask questions or whatever you need. In this case, just telling us your progress, which at this point, based on the due date, hopefully you're doing it before, but if you're doing it there, is the following day. Okay. So here's what I did, is I created just a short paragraph talking about my email API, what will allow the users to do, what restrictions it has, how it will handle the data, because this is something that as you're working in your Dev 1 that I think may create, and I hope you reach out for discussion if you need it, like the more involved concept of how you're going to store the data. Because remember, in Andrew's task manager, he assumed that only the users logged in would want to see their own data. And in some cases, like in my case, when I send an email, I need to have that receiver have access to it, and that's not the logged in user. So I had to figure out a way to handle this. Now I'm going to talk more about how I did this in the Develop It 1 video that I'll do, but I just had to give a description here, and this was really written just for me to clarify my own like what work I had done. And then what I did is I created, like, here's my endpoints for inbox, and then my post route, right? So the create part of CRUD, the get routes, the read part of CRUD, the delete routes, the delete part of CRUD, and then patch routes. And I also, in this case, put a little X to show that I had completed them. And the only one I have left to complete is actually the patch route. Because for me, once a user sends an email, they can delete it, but they don't really update it. So that's why I'm going to end up using the field I called status, to update it from new to like opened or read or something like that. So that's the last piece I need to work on. Now, these user routes are stuff we really did with Andrew, and you're welcome to just take and use the ones that he had, and I will duplicate that here. But these are the most important ones for you to document, okay? So that's the work you need to do for this week. Push that out, give that some thought. Again, it could change for sure from the time you do this, depending on when of the calendar you do this. So when I go to Dev 0, we'll have a conversation about that. Like, did your week 9 Learn Together reflect what you actually ended up doing? And again, the more time you give yourself on this one, the better. I ended up working on it over the holiday and spent the last, well, yesterday and today really finishing it up. And it did take a bit of like wrapping my head around how I needed the data store. Now, for some of you, your data concepts will be the same as what Andrew did, but some of you will not, and you'll have to think about how you're going to store that data. But that'll be a conversation we can also have, like, preferably before Dev 1. So if you need to have a conversation about how that works, now would be the time, right? To reach out and do that. Okay, so I don't think there's anything else in here I wanted to say about that. I just wanted to give you an assignment that, again, helps you work towards just documenting what you're already doing, and hopefully just helps clarify for you and I what is required. Okay, and you're welcome, like I said, to go look at those updated requirement lists that I put out today for the Dev 1. But it's not going to be a big secret. And again, this is the last video I'll actually set up or the video I'll do next sometime today covering this and how I implemented it. All right, have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon.